California's monopoly territory is home to 17 million people.
Families already struggle to pay their bills.
AGD was convicted of 91 felonies.
Really? I mean, what's next?
Greybeard Talks Solar. He is SolarWise.
Welcome to the Greybeard Talks Solar YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is going to be an excellent video on whether or not you can trust the efficacy of the proposals that you see. Can you trust a solar consultant, solar salesperson to accurately show you the real numbers of what a solar system might produce if you chose to move forward at your particular property with your roof, with your number of panels, etc. So today's show is going to be a couple different examples of why I think you can, under the right circumstances, trust those numbers. But first of all, if you like the video, please like, share, subscribe. There's a lot more information where this is coming from. My goal at SolarWise is to help present knowledge, information, resources that will engender some knowledge on your side and hopefully make you solar wise in the process. So let's jump into it. So this particular video was sparked by some comments that I had talking with a homeowner over this last week. And we were talking about some of the numbers that we were showing or projecting could be numbers of production, amount of electricity that this particular homeowner would generate from a system that we were proposing for them. And so the homeowner says to me, yeah, but, solar's got kind of a bad rap, like how do I trust these numbers? How do I know that this information is accurate to me? Because, my friend Jim, he bought a system and they said it was going to generate this much energy and it only generated this much energy. And, he felt like he got taken advantage of it. So anyway, that's the origin of this particular video that we're going to overview today and share today. But let me just say one thing. As a solar broker, I've gone through about 30 different solar installers trying to find 11 really good ones. So we've gone through 30 to net 11. Stated differently, I've gotten rid of more installers that we had worked with or started to work with or had done a little business with. We've gotten rid of 19 versus the 11 that we've kept. So I think we've been discerning. We've learned a lot of lessons in that process, and we've had a lot of experience of working with other homeowners throughout California. And here's the first red flag that I'll say relative to working with a salesperson or solar installer. If somebody handwrites a proposal for you, if they handwrite a proposal, this number of panels, this number of inverters, this number of batteries, and it's all handwritten out like you attend a trade show or a home fair or something like that, and somebody there's got a solar booth and they say, hey, we can get you a system for X, Y, Z, and we think it'll produce this. Be very skeptical of that. Be very skeptical of that type of an approach, because it's a very what we call in our industry kind of solar Chuck and his truck type of approach, and it's not exactly what we're going for when you want detailed information, when you want information that you can count on and that you can trust. And so at SolarWise, with the companies that we deal with today, we are going to get a formal proposal from an installer for the size system that you need. And by formal, I mean that they've gone through a whole bunch of different steps to present for you a solar solution, and they're backing that solar solution with actual information that they've generated from satellite imagery or from forecast imagery from the panels themselves or the rate or the orientation or slope of your roof, etc. So I'm going to detail that a little later in the show. But the first warning sign that I would be concerned about relative to working with the solar installers, if you get a handwritten quote, stay away from those guys. The solar Chuck and his truck, they're on the fringe of being companies that definitely would go out of business. You got to have some money to work with some of the softwares that we show. You got to have a certain volume to be able to attract the attention of some of these companies that use a lot of very detailed information to forecast the solar amount of energy that can be produced at your property. And so they need a certain level of volume to be able to make that possible. And so what I'm going to do right now is just show you an example of how we go about estimating the production from a system. And I'm hoping to engender some confidence in you that when you actually see a proposal from a company like ours, that you can trust that the numbers that are there, number of panels, the amount of energy that it'll generate, that's an accurate estimation for you. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to jump into an example using Aurora. So one of the softwares that we use, we have about 3 or 4 of them from different companies that we use, but Aurora Solar has some great software that we use and other installers use to help illustrate the benefit of solar, the amount of energy that you can be produced from the system, battery storage, panels, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to jump into an example for you and show you how Aurora works, and hopefully give you some idea as to why you can definitely be confident in the numbers that you see. So let's take a look at it right now. Okay, so what you're looking at here is an example of an initial design layout for a potential solar system at a particular property. Now, what I do like about the Aurora platform for illustrating these types of systems and potential designs is it does have artificial intelligence. It does have AI technology. It has a wizard basically that will, based on satellite imagery and overhead views, basically map out the exact roof orientation, planes, different levels of the roof, etc. And you're seeing an example of that. Now, this is not the final version of what will be submitted often to the county. This is a precursor to that. This is an actionable design. And what I mean by that is probably 95% accurate to what the final design could look like or most likely would look like. But relative to the efficacy of these proposals and whether or not you can trust the information that's being shown, I think it's a great representation of a potential solar layout for this particular property and the associated panel location. So people can get an idea of, number one, the design, what the system would look like on the roof. Number two, the number of panels that might be necessary to drive the amount of electricity that they're consuming inside the home. And then kind of backing into then production numbers. You know, if each one of these panels is, for example, a 400-watt solar panel, how can you trust or how can you have confidence that this particular design is going to be a design that is accurate to your property? Now, this particular homeowner had already letting us know that they had eliminated the tree that was out in front, the big tree there that was casting a lot of shading. They'd gotten rid of that. But one of the things I want to show you here is if we could take a look at this, well, first and foremost, we can click around the property. We can take a look at a 3-dimensional design, and we can actually move around the property to see exactly what the panels might look like on that particular property, the roof orientation, etc. So you can move around it, left, right, top, center. And when we go back to the top orientation, the other thing that I like to do is, let's say, for example, you know, most counties in California, the jurisdictions that approve the permits, they have a rule that if there's more than 33% of the roof space covered, then per code, you have to have 3-foot setbacks for firefighter access on the roof. So this particular system, you know, we can look at, for example, measurements. If we want to look at exact measurements, as you can see, it populates with an example of the length of the roof, the measurements, etc. So we can turn that off. You can look at rulers. Interesting with rulers. You can look at setbacks, fire pathways. So it's going to superimpose those potential setbacks as they're needed. If they're needed on this particular roof, it does not need that setback. But here's a feature that I think is really quite interesting. It's called a radiance. And what they do with this particular software is they map. They take a sun eye, basically. A sun eye is a device that allows them to track the sun over a very specific spot over a 365-day year. So this particular software will take this particular property, and what it will do is, as you're seeing, heat map the roof. This is how they know potentially where the best places to put panels could be. The lighter the color, obviously, the more sun exposure. The darker the color, the less sun exposure. And this is why panel location really does matter in solar. But we can take this 3-dimensional render here and we can move all around it if we want. We can circle and see. Obviously, the fireplace that you see there is going to cast shadowing in early morning when the sun comes up. If we take a look at the 3D render of it, we can actually move around the property quite substantially. So this would be the southern focused facing roof. Then we've got the eastern side here. Obviously, when you look at the eastern side, that chimney is going to be an issue. You got the western side here, the western focus of the roof. And if I come right back here to center, brings everything back to center, we can do the top-down view. But using my mouse right here, this particular panel right here is probably not going to perform as well as it could if it was up front here. So there's going to be some degradation, right? So the system already knows that. It's got some shadowing there. I would suggest potentially on the final design that this panel might be moved a little northward there if it could. Maybe these two panels could move, a little westward, north up on the roof, higher up on the roof here as an example. But what the software will actually do when you do the calculations, it'll take the number of panels that are represented on the roof, the wattage of those panels, and then based on the coloring that you're seeing, this irradiance, this light to dark coloring that tells us where the best spot to have panels would be, it will then calculate over the course of a year how much energy that particular panel will generate at that location on the roof at that particular roof plane or angle of that particular roof exposure. So here's the net of it. When you get a handwritten proposal from a solar company where it's just a basic cost summary sheet, you're missing out on a huge potential of accuracy relative to the production of that particular proposal. So, for example, at SolarWise, we only will use companies that go to this level of detail to forecast the future energy production from a solar system because we think that this matters. Otherwise, if it's handwritten or if it's generic in nature, it's certainly not going to, I think, be something that you could place a lot of trust or confidence in the numbers that you're seeing in terms of what they think that you're going to produce from the system. But, what I do enjoy about this is that you can gain confidence from the fact that with 3D modeling, with the irradiance, with the setbacks, with the roof planes already shown, calculated, the best places to have the panels, that when an installer makes a proposal for a system for your house and they say, we think it's going to generate, 16,000 kilowatt hours of energy for a year, I feel like you can have confidence that that amount of energy, that projection is going to be highly accurate for you. And so hopefully that helps to better understand exactly the detail that they go through to present a proposal. And you really want to have that kind of detail with whoever you're working with to have confidence that the numbers that they're projecting are going to be accurate numbers for you. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that example of basically a proposal that we would do through the system with Aurora. And we have several installers that use Aurora. As I mentioned before, going over this illustration, there are other illustrative software that you can use to do the same exact thing. But this system with Aurora, I think, is one of the best that's out there. And so here's my encouragement to you if you're exploring solar. Make sure you're dealing with somebody that isn't handwriting out a proposal for you. Make sure you're dealing with a company that's big enough that they've got options like I'm showing you here, and then have them run you through those options. Have them show you how it looks and works. You can do that on the proposal side. You can do it on the presentation side. If somebody really knows what they're doing and understands how this stuff works, they're going to be able to show you, guide you through it, explain it reasonably and appropriately for you, and give you that confidence that you're dealing with somebody that you can trust, right? And one last point I want to make. Some of you out there might be going, well, is my roof satisfactory for a solar installation? Part of the site inspection that they'll do is they will evaluate your roof, okay? Now, they're not roof doctors, the company roof doctors. They're not like that. They're not going to give you an idea of exactly how much roof life is left. You can take that step further. You can engage somebody to do that for you. But let me give you a rough rule of thumb that I've kind of stuck to in my career relative to the timing of a roof replacement and whether you should do that before solar or after solar. So here's an example. With regard to roof replacement, if you've got at least 5 years of roof life left, at your property, to remove and reinstall panels with most of our installers right now, it's about maybe $150 to both remove and then reinstall, because all it is labor, right? So let's assume you're going to go get your roof replaced. If you had to remove the panels, that's a labor cost. It's not an equipment charge. It's a labor cost. To reinstall them is also labor cost again. And so it's about $150 a panel. So if you got a 30 panel system, it might be like $4,500 for a solar company or potentially for your roofing company to remove that if they're solar licensed to do so. So here's my logic. If your roof has at least 5 years left of life or longer, I think that the cost doesn't warrant replacing it now. In other words, the first year of solar, hopefully you can at least recover or make a huge dent in that $4,500 expense. So stated differently, if you could recover the full cost of removing and reinstalling the panels once you re-roof in the very first year of solar, then you're going to have an extra 4 years on top of that to eke out more roof life and still make more money, saving money with the utility. Now, if it's less than that, let's say your roof has only got a year left, 2 years, 3 years left, then I think it definitely makes sense to replace the roof before you do the solar installation. But if it's 5 years or longer, if you've got a 20 years on your roof and it was a 30-year roof, that I wouldn't worry about it right now. You know, I've actually installed panels on roofs that are older than that should have been replaced, but technically they weren't very damaged. There were no leaks. And so you might be able to eke out 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years longer of roof life, you know, putting the solar on top, because the solar is then somewhat of a barrier to the sun and some of the other elements that can degrade the roof. So just that's my rough rule of thumb relative to roof replacements and the timing of that. And hopefully that does help to give you some more information to make a decision. So thank you very much for watching the Greybeard Talks Solar YouTube channel. As I said before, please like, subscribe, and share. And definitely, as you go about your life, go about your day, keep shining, keep shining bright. The sun is a wonderful thing. It can produce electricity. It can give you happiness and joy. We think it can save you a lot of money. So thank you so much for watching the Greybeard Talks Solar YouTube channel, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks for listening to SolarWise. Greybeard Talks Solar. Please visit our website, solarwiseco.com, to learn more. And we will see you next time on SolarWise.